So hello and welcome to the Action Coach Business Spotlight. I'm Lorna McAtear, and with my husband John Boggess, we run Action Coach Cambridge. So what we do is we help business owners across the Cambridge region. Now today I'm absolutely delighted to have with me Elena Cismigiu, and she is the CEO of Neuro XR. So Elena, welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
It's delightful to have you with us, but this is all about you. So let's kick things off. Give us some background. Tell us about Neuro XR.
Yes, so I'm the CEO and co-founder of Neuro XR. I'm also a neuroscientist and a disabled entrepreneur. We started Neuro XR initially as HX marketing about 3 years ago. So I was 19 in my first year of university at Q University. Then I met my co-founder. He was studying psychology. He was in third year, and we just found a mutual passion for human behavior, cognition, and psychology. His dissertation was actually on the psychological effects of social media, and a company wanted to buy his results. So we thought, why not explore this more? So now 3 years later, we incorporated Neuro XR, providing neuroscience and psychology analytics and emotional heat mapping for virtual reality and 3D and the metaverse. So showcasing companies that are developing in this space, exactly how their users react and interact in those 3D environments, and providing them with real-time and accurate analytics in the form of a heat map that is really easy to understand and you can draw those insights.
That is really, really interesting, Elena. So where are you based, and how many people do you have with you in Neuro XR?
So we're currently based in Cambridge, moved about a year ago. For the time being, it's just the two of us, the two co-founders, but we've actually just finished hiring. So in about 2 or so weeks, we're going to have 2 more people, brilliant psychologists and a software engineer. So they will help us actually gather the data and then develop the platform.
That's really exciting. So even already you're growing, which is always fantastic to hear, Elena. So tell me about your ideal clients then. Who are the people that would want your service?
Yeah, so I think anyone developing in this area. So from gaming, retail, metaverse experiences, any company that wants to develop or sell something in a 3D environment. So we've actually been really lucky that we're working with some really big media and retail companies in the next couple of months, and then moving on to that gaming and more retail focus to show exactly how their users feel, but at the same time making sure that these platforms and these experiences are accessible, they're safe, they have a minimal digital addiction levels, but at the same time providing that company with that data that shows how profitable their experience and their platforms is, and also how to increase their customer engagement and retention. So kind of helping both sides at the same time.
Absolutely. So tell me, how do you go from studying psychology to ending up where you are now? How did you get here?
I don't know. It feels like I woke up one day and all of this happened. But truthfully, it was a lot of work and a lot of determination, a bit of luck sprinkled here and there, and just being passionate about science and about how, as humans, how we interact with one another, how we interact with business and the commercial side of things. And we just impulsively decided to start a company. We were young. We thought we have nothing to lose. If it fails, we're still in our early 20s and we can start over. So we were really passionate about just science and that academic side. My co-founder wanted to start a business at some point. So we decided, why not do it now? And things progressed. And we kind of transformed from having a cool technology to actually solving a very important problem. So things progressed in a really nice way, and now we're very lucky that things have moved quickly and we've been able to raise funding and hire a team and actually develop the technology that we started off with about 4 years ago.
That's absolutely amazing. Did you ever think as a child that this is what you would be doing?
Absolutely not. I wanted to be a doctor when up until university, up until my A levels. I wanted to study medicine. I was really passionate about that health, but still that science side. I unfortunately didn't do that well in my A levels and decided to move to biochemistry and human biology. And I didn't really enjoy that. And the more I was studying the neurological side, just the brain and how people think, then I transferred onto neuroscience. And then things just progressed slowly. And then I found a passion into human behavior. And really, very coincidentally, I found one of my cover letters for high school when I applied to college. And the first line, it says that I'm very passionate about human behavior. And it ended up, 6, 7 years later, that this is actually my job. So it wasn't my initial plan, but it ended up being something that I've always been really passionate about.
You see, that's really interesting because, in your letter, it was kind of mapped out for you already. You just didn't realize it.
Exactly. Yeah, I never even thought about starting a business. I didn't think that I had it in me to do it. But the more I started, the more I got into it, the more I started to really love it. And now I can't think of any other job other than Neuro XR.
That's amazing. It's so interesting when I speak to business owners about how they end up, ending up where they are now, and their journeys. It always fascinates me. What's the biggest issue that you've overcome, Elena?
All of the external barriers that's happened. We started the company about 3 months, 4 months before the pandemic. So that was like the biggest barrier of all of them. And it's always a really proud moment thinking that we overcame the pandemic when multi-billion companies failed and they had to shut down during the pandemic. And we were able to shift our technology in a way to fit this new issue that we were facing. And I think another one is just small pivots. Obviously, you don't think of an idea and then you find the market, you find the solution, you find the product and the technology immediately. It's all still a trial and error, especially with more on the academic side, where there's not a clear sort of understanding of the technology in a commercial sense. And there's also, just over the past couple of years, there's been a lot of experimenting, talking to a lot of people, making sure that our technology is not just cool and innovative, but actually solves a real issue.
That's brilliant. So thinking about, where you are now and how you've got here, what would you say your biggest learnings in business so far are, and also in life?
Just how determined you need to be and how strong you need to be. There's so many times where I quit in my mind and I didn't want to keep going because things were very overwhelming and stressful and it felt like there was nothing going well. But having that determination to keep going, that's exactly when the good pivots and the good changes happen. And that was definitely a sort of personal growth that I had to go through. Obviously, I'm still in my early 20s and it's not like I have life figured out, because I don't. But it was definitely, having that business taught me a lot of things on how to just be okay with rejection, be okay with failure, be okay with, negative things, that I just need to find them as an opportunity to grow instead of just the first thing that comes negative in your life, you just stop and then go to something else. And I think that was definitely a skill that I found really important with business. And I've seen other companies that don't have that, is that just willingness to change directions depending on external, factors, like the pandemic, like the bank that just failed last week.
Yeah.
Just being able to reshift things and just kind of go around all of these challenges, I think it's something that I've learned and I'm still learning to the day.
And do you know what? You're so bang on, Elena. you know, there's always an opportunity that comes out of challenges, you know, and you can either let them quash you or you can find a way around them. And like you say, you know, you've hit the nail right on the head. That's where you find real growth. So good on you for, you know, for keeping going. And, you know, it's not about the number of knocks you get, it's how many times you pick yourself back up and keep going.
Yeah, there have been so many times, and especially during fundraising, which a lot of people don't really tell you, it's just how mentally draining it is.
Yeah.
You know, people expect to find an investor, first meeting, they'll give you the money, that's it. And that's really not the truth. It's very unnatural for a person to be exposed to so much judging and to like the personal level. That's what pitching and fundraising is. You meet strangers that are just there to grill your idea, who you are, what you're building, and be able to move on from that meeting, and then still think your idea is brilliant and still be able to have that drive to go into the next pitch meeting where it's the same. So it's definitely very strange and very difficult from like a psychological point of view of it's not normal to go through so much like negativity sometimes and still be able to pick yourself up and do it and be able to accept those negative points and see them as advice instead of them just judging you and who you are. And it's definitely something that I've learned to reshift my thinking. And now I accept a lot of the judgment and, you know, critical thoughts and see them as advice and something that I could work on.
Yeah, and you know, there is a lot to be taken from criticism. You know, you do need to kind of switch off the emotion to it and take from it, you know, because there is a lot that you can take from people's questioning and you know, whether that's good or bad. You know, you can sometimes get ideas, you know, that maybe you've not even thought about.
Exactly.
So it's always good to see them as positive. Even at the time, it might feel as though it's kind of personally crushing, but you've got to switch off the emotion and just focus on why you're doing what you're doing. And, you know, passion is a massive drive and you can see it just oozing out of you. It's amazing. So in terms of the future then for Neuro XR, Elena, what does that look like? And, you know, do you see any challenges that you might come across?
We've got big plans, very, very big plans. So like we mentioned, we're expanding the team now. We're looking at having an even bigger team by the end of the year. We're looking at raising seed and getting a bit more funding in, having some really great consultancy projects on the side while we develop the platform. And then, like I mentioned, we want to actually integrate AI into our technology, which will take a lot of finessing and trial and error and experimentation. It will take us a couple of years, but we want to, you know, really develop this technology into the metaverse space. We want everyone developing in that area to use our analytics. That is the main goal. But we also want to expand to different markets. We are really passionate about introducing our analytics into virtual reality healthcare, into education, learning and development and training, and using our technology for social good as well, not just purely for profit and the commercial side, but ensuring that our technology is used to, you know, introduce that accessibility and introduce science into a very biased business world.
Yeah, absolutely. So thinking back, I know that you've said that you're 23. What advice would you, so having experienced what you've experienced in business and life so far, you know, what advice would you give your younger self?
To not stress as much for the small things. There have been even sometimes I think of like stressing about school, thinking that if I don't do well in my A levels, or if I don't get the grades that I want, my life is over. And that wasn't it. It's something really beautiful came out of like that small failure that I experienced, you know, 4 or 5 years ago. And there's definitely something that I will keep on learning, and I wish I had that advice and I realized this sooner, of just taking the good and the bad thing. It's life, you know, just because you've achieved something doesn't mean that you've never experienced negative things in your life. It's just seeing them a bit differently and definitely I wish I was a bit less stressed out and I was able to enjoy my childhood a bit better. I focused a lot on academia and making sure that I excelled with my grades and I was, you know, the smartest, and I compared myself a lot to other students who were maybe doing well, had more support than I did. And it just ended up being very detrimental to me. And it took a lot of years of just understanding exactly that grades don't necessarily matter. Just because you didn't end up going to Cambridge or Oxford for university, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have a fulfilling job.
Do you know what, that is such sound advice, and just when you were saying that, it really resonates with me because you know, one of my daughters is going through her GCSEs and incredibly stressed about it. You know, what happens if I don't get these grades? And you know, I'm going to get her to watch this video and to listen to you, and I'm sure it'll be really inspirational, not just for her, but for, you know, for other people that are going to watch this, you know, that are in a similar position with me, with you know, kids going through their GCSEs. You know, focus on what's important and try not to get too caught up you know, in the stress of it.
There's definitely, we weren't taught that in school, especially, you know, I went to a very competitive college as well, that they were only focusing on reaching that absolute best. And if you don't get that, you just don't have anything else to fall back on. And it definitely adds a lot of stress to children and to teenagers who are still trying to figure out what they want to do in life. And adding that pressure of, if I don't get these grades, then I don't have any options, which is really not true. And a lot of people don't realize, a lot of children don't realize, a lot of adults don't even use their degree with their job. It doesn't relate. It ended up with us that it did. And, you know, we found an opportunity to move from the academia to create a company around it. But that's not always the case. But it also doesn't mean that you failed just because you didn't get to that university or you didn't get the grades that you needed. I was so stressed out when I went through clearing a university. I thought my life was over. I thought I didn't get into medicine. What am I supposed to do? And then I realized I wouldn't have done well being a doctor. I wouldn't have been able to handle it whatsoever. And now I'm really happy that
you didn't.
that I didn't, that somehow I didn't do as well. And this opportunity where, you know, I didn't go to medicine, but then I saw something else that was definitely for the best, you know, the best option for me.
Yeah, so you found your own path, you know, and even, you know, the knocks actually have guided you to, you know, the place that you were supposed to be anyway. Oh, do you know what, Elena, you're such an inspiration. Just before we wrap up, is there anything else, you know, that people watching this, you know, anything that you're working on that you'd like to share with them?
Yeah, I mean, from that Neuro XR technological side that we're working on, obviously we're developing a lot. We're still in that stage where it's a lot of internal work, a lot of collaboration with other businesses. So it's a bit of a call to action of anyone building in this like metaverse VR area would love to work with them, just partner and really understand kind of how things are developing in that space. But we're also working on that social side of providing, first of all, awareness for disabled talent. I myself have a disability. My co-founder's neurodiverse, you know, just showing that it is still possible to create a business with those, I guess, quote unquote, limitations. But at the same time, providing support for disabled talent that can't get jobs or they have that barrier to accessibility because of technology. So we want to ensure that our technology is profitable for businesses that want to create in that VR space, but at the same time allowing the users to feel safe, to understand exactly that the platform that they're going into does not create any additional addiction, that those digital addictions, especially with virtual reality, the metaverse, the phones that we have in our face, you know, the levels are rising, and the research out there shows that there's a lot of big issues that they need to be addressed. And what we want to do is address those challenges with our technology and with Neuro XR as a company as a whole. We want to not only create cool experiences and profitable and everything looks really fun, we want to also make sure that everything is safe. People are, you know, happy when they're experiencing it, and they know that the companies they work with, they're not doing any dodgy stuff when it comes to the metaverse. We've seen a lot of companies that have maybe the wrong intentions. So we want to be on the other side of the conversation and really just bringing the social side to our technology and keeping that at the core of Neuro XR.
That's absolutely amazing. Elena, so if people want to find out more and get in touch, what's the best way for them to do it?
Yeah, so I'm very present on LinkedIn. People get in touch with me. I'm more than happy to answer any questions, to talk more. I'm an open book there. We also have our website that will be updating soon with a bit more information. We are actually starting some internships soon as well. So working with universities and providing sort of different aspect of internships to students, combining that science and that business and VR and technology kind of in one. So yeah, LinkedIn, our website, we'll probably keep in touch more. We'll do a bit of a rebranding soon, so increasing our presence as Neuro XR. So a lot of fun, interesting, cool stuff happening in the next couple of months. So very exciting.
Do you know what? It is really exciting. You can just feel the energy and the passion, you know, coming off you, and it's just so lovely. You know, just keep being amazing and keep being an inspiration. You know, and you know, just keep doing what you're doing. Follow your dreams, and you know, just give it everything. You know, don't let stress and anxiety stop you doing anything.
I think it's definitely a mix of, you know, understanding that because of my disability, I didn't have a job before this because that was a barrier. I had a degree, I had so many skills, but I didn't get the job because I couldn't work within that 9-to-5 environment. And a lot of my passion with continuing with Neuro XR, despite all the barriers that I faced, is that a lot of disabled people don't have a choice. Thinking that if Neuro XR goes wrong, you know, touch wood, what other choice do I have? I can't work in that usual 9-to-5 environment. So a lot of this passion goes from an inability to have a lot of options as a disabled person, but that other side where I'm really passionate about science, that neuroscience aspect of it, just understanding us as humans, how do we interact with this new technologies that is coming out there? Is it safe? How can we use it as an extension to our lives instead of something that is detrimental to us, and use it as a good addition to our lives instead of it being something that stops us from doing our lives normally?
Yeah, absolutely. Elena, this has been absolutely fascinating. It's been a real pleasure talking to you, and you know, I wish you and your other co-founder all the best for the future.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. It's always, you know, it's really, I feel really grateful every time I get the opportunity to share a lot of my life, what I've gone through, kind of all of these steps, because I didn't know this when I started out. I didn't have a lot of support and a lot of information, and I had to figure out myself. So now that I've reached that stage where maybe I can share a few tips, I know the benefit that it can add to other people who may want to start something similar at the age, or, you know, maybe they're a student and they're thinking of starting a business, but they don't know how. I just want my example to be there for them to use as a bit of a guideline and a hope that it's possible, it's doable. It requires a lot of work, but it's doable. It's not impossible.
Oh, listen, like I say, you're an absolute inspiration. Thank you so much for your time. It really has been my pleasure. Thanks, Elena.
Yeah, thank you.